Hello and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial I wanted to show you a stitch, a very easy stitch. You can do a chunky blanket, you can do with a thinner yarn like a, I don't know, a vest. You can do a shawl, wrap, rectangular wrap. You can do a bag, you can do so many things. This yarn it's put in 2 strands, so it's well, kind of thick. I worked this this sample with 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and these are the sides. You can make a blanket, a baby blanket with a thinner yarn. This has 1 row repeat, that's it, and the stitch is reversible. So if you like this this stitch, you can do this. Well, working with the loops, it's gonna eat some yarn. Yeah. You can even do a scarf with this stitch. It's really easy. Okay, this stitch works with, well, odd numbers. So I have here 15 chains. We're gonna skip the first chain from the hook, and into the second chain we're gonna do a single crochet, and this row is gonna be single crochet in each chain. So you move to the next chain and you're gonna do single crochet into the next chain, and so on, just to give you a base. If you want, you can start from the chain if you don't want this single crochet row. It's a very easy stitch, goes really fast. I have with this stitch worked in rounds a headband on Natty Crochet, my other channel, so you can check this stitch worked in rounds if you like. So last chain single crochet, we're gonna chain 2, turn your work, yarn over the hook into the first stitch here. We're gonna go in there and pick up a loop. You can do the loops as high as you like, depends on you. Yarn over the hook, we're gonna move to the next stitch and we're gonna pick up a loop, move to the next stitch, pick up a loop, and you have 7 loops on the hook. We're gonna pass the yarn through the first 6 loops, not the last one. Then yarn over and pull the yarn to the last 2 loops, chain 1, and now we're gonna go back to the last stitch that we worked, this one. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna pick up a loop, move to the next stitch, pick up a loop, next stitch, pick up a loop, pull the yarn to the first 6 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2, chain 1, and we're gonna repeat like this. We're gonna go back to the last stitch that we worked, I'm gonna pull up a loop, move to the next stitch, pull up a loop, go to the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull the yarn to the first 6 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2, chain 1. And this is how we're gonna do until the end of this row. So we're gonna go back to the stitch that we worked last, next stitch, and next stitch. I'm gonna pull the yarn through first 6 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2, chain 1. It's gonna look like this. So we're gonna repeat. We go back to the last stitch that we worked, move to the next stitch, pull up a loop, next stitch, pull up a loop, pull the yarn to the first 6 loops, last 2, chain 1, and we're gonna repeat the last stitch that we worked, the next stitch, and the next stitch, and you're gonna be left with 1 stitch at the end. Yeah? You're gonna pull the yarn to the first 6 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2, chain 1, and we're gonna do a double crochet into the last stitch in there. It's a very easy stitch, goes really fast. gonna look like this. Okay, now we're gonna chain 2, and this is the row that you're gonna repeat on and on and on until you finish your project. Yarn over the hook. We're gonna work through the space, the stitch, and the space. So we're gonna go into this space, pull up a loop, yarn over the hook, go to the stitch where we closed all these loops from the previous row, pick up a loop, and then you're gonna move to the next space, and you're gonna pick up a loop, pull the yarn to the first 6 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2, chain 1. And now we're gonna go back to the last space that we worked through, this one, pick up a loop, go to the stitch, in there, pick up a loop, next space, pick up a loop, pull the yarn to the first 6 loops, last 2, chain 1. So you're gonna go back to the last space that you worked, the stitch, and the space. Chain 1. And this is the stitch. I think for a shawl, well, a wrap would be nice. Even with the thin yarn, you can do a tank top. With a little bit sterny, rigid yarn, you can do even a vest or a cardigan, if you like, for spring or summer. So at the end here, we're gonna go back to the last space that we worked here. We have the stitch, and then we have the space between these clusters of loops here and the chain 2. So we're gonna go the space, stitch, and the space between the 2 chains and this cluster. So you go, pull up a loop, we have the stitch, pull up a loop, and then the space between the 2 chains and that cluster, pull the yarn to the first 6 loops, last 2, chain 1, and now we have here the 2 chains, 1, 2, we're gonna go on top of the second chain right there and do a double crochet. This is how we're gonna finish every row from this moment forward, and it looks like this. So we're gonna chain 2, turn your work, and you're gonna repeat. I'm gonna do this row and then I'm gonna stop. So again, the first space is here, I'm gonna go in there, pull up a loop, go to the stitch, pull up a loop, the next space, pull up a loop, pull the yarn to the first 6 loops, last 2, chain 1. And this is how you're gonna do the stitch, and it goes really fast. I tried with a thinner yarn. It's quite cute for a tank top or a blouse, if you like, to use this for summer. Okay, chain 1, and now at the end here we're gonna do the same. We're gonna go to the last space that we worked, the stitch, and the space between these 2 chains and this the cluster of loops. So you're gonna go in that space there, pull the yarn to the first 6 loops, last 2, chain 1, and on top of the second chain, 1, 2, here we're gonna do a double crochet. So now we're gonna chain 2 and you're gonna repeat. Turn your work and you repeat. Looks like this. I think for a bag or even a scarf, a summer scarf with a very thin yarn will look nice, or a baby blanket. This is quite chunky, the yarn. It's quite chunky. I put 2 strands of yarn together for this kind of thing. Well, if you like, you can give it a try. I'm sure you will find something to do with the stitch. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.